So welcome everyone. Welcome to Mobile Track. Sorry we started a couple minutes late. I'm really thrilled to see how many of you are here. It's really good. My name is Ardeleanu, or Ardeleanu. And I'll be the host of the Mobile Stage. If you have any questions, or if you have any problems doing this track here, it's quite separate from the other one, feel free to get in touch with me or one of the helpers for any of the problems. To get a bit of an idea who's in the room, and to make it a bit contextual for the next speakers, who here is a developer? And by developer, I mean someone that spends at least half of their day writing code and debugging and swearing to the screen. Yeah, cool. So about half the room, yeah, or even more. What about designers, UX, fancy people that work with colors, people that can see more than 8 colors? Okay. Cool. What about managers and people we don't like and agile? You fell right into that. No, I'm joking. Sorry. Good. Okay. So it's good to have exposure on that side as well. Right. So we're going to start with a highly controversial topic. So I'm the first speaker as well. I'll be here throughout the day. I'll introduce the other speakers, but I'll give the first keynote. Hopefully you can understand what I'm saying. Is there anyone here that doesn't speak English? It doesn't understand what I'm saying? Good. Thank you. Waiting for a long time to answer. Right, so we're going to start with a highly controversial topic, which is HTML5 versus native. Right, so the reason we have this topic is because there is a war out there. It's a war between different camps of developers. It's a war that is kind of raging through our developer landscape. And because it's the Game of Thrones season, I want to make a parallel so you can understand what's happening out there. Right? So, first of all, we have house stock. This is the web. It never dies, never goes away. It tries to transform itself in order to take care of what's happening and comes back from the dead. Okay, spoiler alert. Yeah. Most that laugh actually saw episode 2 of the latest series, so yeah, they know what it is. Lannister, what do you think this one is? iOS. No, it's Flash. Come on. It's greedy. It wants your resources. It's always looking for shiny stuff, and it dies by its own sword, right? And it never goes away. It's Adobe. What about House Targaryen? This is native, right? Always comes back, always reborn itself. Remember Scythian back in the day? He died for a while, he came back as Android, iOS, and all the others. So he needs to adapt. He couldn't adapt fast enough, but eventually it adapts, and the other platforms don't need their lunch. House Baelish, Littlefinger. Who do you think this one is? This is Hybrid House. This is PhoneGap. It's people that cause trouble. That always go away when something bad happens. Oh, it just didn't work. Oh, I wrote this PhoneGap app a year ago, now it doesn't work. Not my problem. It's always random, always making questionable life choices and living based on other people, if you know what I mean. So there's a war out there, and it's happening. So the topic of this is a war. And it's funny enough because the war is actually shouldn't be a war. It should be, from the developer perspective, it should be something else. So let's have a look. So who here believes HTML5 and web is the only way to go about things? Just because it's open and it's always. Oh, you don't defend the traps. Nice. So who thinks HTML5 is the only way forward and we shouldn't have native apps? Okay. Okay, let's say 99% you think it should be web and the other one native. Okay, and who thinks that native should be the way forward? Okay, good. Well, I will say this kindly, both wrong. The most important thing is the user. It doesn't matter what you like and what you think is right. The user is what matters, and you should cover all the angles. So it's certainly not how you feel and what you feel is good for you, and that's the most important thing. And you need to understand, the end consumer doesn't care how the information is distributed. It needs to be convenient, cheap, and fast. If he has that, that's the way to do it. The user is not going to install your app just because you want them to. You need to give them a reason why to invest time, money, and bandwidth, right? In the same way, the user won't use a web service just because it's open. Make it small, make it fast, make it small web pages footprint, give an easy way to authenticate on mobile. You don't have to remember your 40-character password every time. Give them offline. It's as simple as that. Right? So a lot of businesses ask, should I do web or should I do mobile? Well, do both. Right? Why do you want to restrict yourself to just one? And they said, oh, I don't need native apps because I have a responsive website. And responsive website in most cases is just a tick in the box for the requirements. And all they do is just fancily change the window size in Chrome. Oh, look, it works nice when it's small. And usually it's a very high correlation between people doing that and people that are being agile practitioners. But that's for another talk. So you need to go where the eyeballs are. You need to go where the users are. You need to be pragmatic and understand that the reason you built a website or a native app is because you are a business. Unless you want to do it for yourself, you can do whatever you want. But you need to go where the eyeballs are. Those are where the users will consume that information. And the content is king, right? You provide a service that the users need and care about. That doesn't mean that you need to be a one-man band. You need to cover everything. What I'm saying here is actually the other way. You don't need to be a jack of all trades, but you need to realize that in order to cover all the possible consumers, you need to do everything right. In a sense, it's actually better not to have a native app than have one that sucks. Because if you have one that sucks, that says something about your business. That says how much you care about your users. Yeah? And certainly don't go around transforming a programming language or a platform into a religion and be indoctrinated and say, oh, this is the only way forward. Because it's not. It might be what you feel like. That's fine. I'm an Irish guy. I love Swift. That doesn't mean I say, oh, Swift is the way to go forward and you should use it everywhere, including when in French. No, because it doesn't work like that. The internet is a series of tubes. It's a huge series of tubes, and it's growing really, really fast. And at the same time, a lot of people are switching from mobile to desktop, right? So you need to go after the users where they are. You need to be practical of things because it's convenient for them to be on mobile, and that's why they go there. Right? And users spend. Telling you what calling later. It's fine. Go wait. The users spend more time on mobile, so that's a statistic from last year, the year end. Users spend at least half of their time on their screen, on their mobile screen. And also they spend time on their screen when they're doing other things. I mean, you watch Game of Thrones. How many of you watch it with a device next to them? A phone or a tablet or something, and they just skip the ads? And... No? Maybe only one? Weird one? So no one actually goes on Twitter and tweets about what's happening in Game of Thrones when the advertising is going. No? Okay. I use usually 2 or 3 screens, but that's just me. So how do you go about doing things? Well, you can start from the HTML5, let's say, which is from the web. And you have 2 major ways to make sure that you reach everyone. One is adaptive content. And this is a topic that not all people understand. You don't have to be to have exactly the same content on mobile and on the web, on the normal desktop. You can change things, you can adapt it, you can point users to different pages based on their browser. And you need to fully embrace HTML5. It's mind-blowing for me that 10 years after HTML5 kind of popped its head, people still don't know how to do it properly. Look at that keyboard. Sorry, it's cut. It's not an email keyboard. You're supposed to put an email there. And that's as simple as making the type that input text field an email. It's as simple as that. I think they just forgot about that because it actually works properly on the login screen of Slack. But it's just that symbol here, which gives away that it's an email keyboard. But this should be an integral part of your development. It should be your test suite that actually tests that the keyboard, the type of that text field is email. It should be the most important thing you have in your... It's actually better than having JavaScript and having all those things playing on the screen. I'm also talking about JavaScript. Have you guys tried to disable JavaScript lately and navigate the web? The web is broken. It doesn't work without JavaScript. This is not a open web. This is a web that relies on on the browser to do certain things. I mean, in this case, granted, Facebook gives you access to a mobile optimized, which, what they used to have 7, 8 years ago. That works on the mobile, it's kind of text only and so on. But Dropbox doesn't work without JavaScript. Why? It doesn't make sense. Just because they want to make it fancy, they want to have something that looks better, there's no excuse not to make it available to people without JavaScript. Let alone people who are still using terminals, and for those older than us. Some people like to navigate the internet just to text on the screen. And also the internet is it's a world full of walled gardens. I mean, Facebook, it's amazing to me that people still think that Facebook is this open thing where you just put content and things happen. It's probably worse than AOL used to be back in the day. I'm not sure how many of you used dial-up with AOL back in the day, but you just logged into this window and you can't go out of it. And literally the whole experience was owned by AOL. Facebook does exactly the same thing now. And you'll be an absolute pain when they're going to release their phone, because they can track absolutely everything that you can do on that device. That's not to say mobile doesn't have its problems. It has its own challenges. The main challenge is people don't actually embrace the OS, don't understand what OS is. I'm sick of so many apps I've seen on Android with a back button, which works for iOS but it doesn't work for Android, because Android has a physical back button, or tab bars, or all sorts of things that don't make sense on mobile. Or what the freaking heck is this hamburger menus? How is that a native mobile experience? And there are a couple of variations there. Just pick whichever one you want. But it's not right. That's a normal experience on a native app. You need to provide a consistent experience for that particular platform. An iOS user expects an iOS app, an Android user expects an Android app. They don't expect a mashup, right? And another advantage of a native app has to do with security. Yeah? It can still suck. That doesn't mean that you can't do bad things, and certainly don't do that. Can we adjust the resolution of the screen? Because I think it went back to 69. Can you adjust the resolution of the screen with the screen is cut? I think that's it. Yeah, thank you. Right. Yes, so let's talk about hybrid apps. My favorite subject of the day. How many of you build hybrid apps? JavaScript, PhoneGap? Did you enjoy the experience? Yes or no? Okay. Now, maybe probably is not the experience as such, but trying to support those apps. I had a client that spent a huge amount of money outsourcing an app with PhoneGap, and then he had to rebuild it completely native because it just killed the battery. That's not to say that it can't do with good apps, but I think it should be limited and it should be used for prototyping or for production apps. So, let's have a look at the strength and weaknesses of each single platform. So, native takes a fair amount of costs, right? But it achieves high performance if you know how to do it, obviously. Web has good performance, way low costs because you can reuse developers, you can use standard technologies. Now, hybrid just goes there somewhere. I don't think it's as performant as web. It costs a bit more because you still have a logic and the understanding of what it does. But the thing that happens over time is this thing that people forget. It just goes over there. It's really, really costly to maintain. And the performance decreases over time. Mainly because they use unsupported APIs, you need to kind of reuse all the things, and usually people just don't want to update a hybrid app. And this is what I call ungraceful degradation. Just use a fancy term, right? Yeah, graceful degradation. So the main suspect here is PhoneGap. And it's funny because it's still an Adobe technology. Remember the other Adobe technology that was very popular in the web? And it's really bad. It's probably worse than this kind. It leads to unmanageable apps, and especially the outsources, as I mentioned. And also another thing about hybrid apps. Have you noticed that they're never the same? If you ask someone in 6 months, they're going to tell you something another platform. There is no standard. They just always change, go to a different thing. And if you peddle hybrid apps for a living, I think you should take a deep look in the mirror. So that doesn't mean you can't build cross-platform. So cross-platform means you get all the business logic inside, and then you build interfaces for each one, and you can use a lot of code. And you're a developer, right? So you don't necessarily get to choose which one you use. But there are all sorts of tools actually these days that get better. Xamarin is a very good example. They just got one by Microsoft. So in this case, you can actually use your skills. Sorry, I still can't on top there. There, great. Okay. Do I get the score? Is that my score? You know, you need to go for the the other one is React Native. So in this case, you can actually get to use a JavaScript and gets compiled to native code. But you need to be careful here because you still need to understand what the SDK does. So when you go to iOS, you need to understand what iOS does and how it works and how we can achieve the best out of that chip. And in the same way for Android, you need to understand that all sorts of concepts that don't exist in programming languages. And you deal with an interface that needs to be highly reactive. It's a bit of a pun. But you need to understand the particularities of each network. So you need to get the best possible outcome. And at the end of the day, it depends what you're trying to build. If you're trying to build Tesla, or trying to build the Trabant, or Dacia. Oh, sorry about that. Trabant, let's use Trabant. So you need to get the best out of the users. You need to provide users with that delight. When they open your product, when they see your product, they need to be joyful. Don't get that negative experience. It doesn't work. Understand that you have a full range of users. Some users use it in one way or another. The best thing to do is, have you tried to use your app with just one hand? Maybe you have users that can't use both hands. Maybe you have someone that runs up to a bus. They need to use it just one hand. That's a good test as well. A surprising delight. I'm not sure how many of you know this, but in my iPad, if you separate the keyboard like that actually, that space is actually there, some hidden keys. So you always know that to the left of Y you have T. That works. If you tap on that space, T it goes into the text. And that's the sort of things that are not obvious, but it delight your users. Isn't that cool, Mama? And also you need to learn from big players. So if you look at what Facebook said when they redone their mobile app from being HTML5 driven to native, you can see the key points. So they wanted something that was fast and reliable. And they felt that they couldn't achieve that with HTML. But that's a special case because they have lots of traffic and lots of things happening. They don't want to rely on HTML5 for that. And in the same way, you saw what happened with Firefox OS. OS doesn't need to be HTML5, but at the same time, this one is really good for Internet of Things. Right? You have a choice, and it's your choice to make, and choose wisely. And because I'm biased, eventually you'll have one language to rule them all. Right? And if you look really, really close at that thing, you can see some Swift syntax there. So I have time for Q&A, 10 minutes, I think that's the best. But before that, we have to be in London, 7 minutes. Okay, cool, 7 minutes. If you happen to be in London in 2 weeks, I'm happy to organize this conference on iOS. Give me a shout if you want to come along. Thank you, hope you enjoyed, and if you have any questions, I'm all yours. Thank you.
What do you think about Xamarin versus React.js? What do you think about Xamarin versus React.js?
So React.js is different from React.native. React.js, as my understanding, is a JavaScript library that does React, where native is compiled with native. It's the same thing, whatever you used to like. You've got lots of people that do Windows development. For them it's very easy to go and use C# for Xamarin. So whatever you think is useful for you, whatever works for you. I haven't used any, fortunately, because I'm not familiar with C#. So I think my understanding is both of them will be good, because we have information. So you have right? So Facebook Instantly is doing that because they run out of mobile developers and they want to get JavaScript developers and web developers and mobile apps. So that's why we built this technology. I'm pretty sure both of them will be good. Can you keep it quiet for a second? I don't think that's possible. Theoretically it's possible, but I don't think it's possible. In iOS, for example, the reason why lots of things are fast is because the operating system can do things with hardware that are very specific. If WebAssembly, yes. If I can do that, yes. But also you need to understand that it's not necessarily about how you build things, but you need to get the most of it. You need to understand the concepts of the language. So you still need to understand method case, you still understand things like delegation and protocols and whatnot. So as long as you use that, there's absolutely no difference. Whatever. Let me say this: it doesn't matter what you use, as long as your end user gets something done. So if that's achievable, well, I'm all for it. Whatever works for you. In that case, for me, for example, I've been doing HTML for a long time, but I prefer to write native and straight plain because it just feels closer to my brain. Yeah? Good for next. Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you.